All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dwayne Poole, Chief Operating Officer here at Zylo. I am privileged and proud to be joined by some very good customers of Zylo. And we are here because we are answering the question, why now? And why SaaS management has become a priority. So let's just get started with some intros. Partha, Steve, Tassilo, if you guys could all introduce yourselves and your role. Of course, it says it on the screen, but then as importantly, how SaaS management is related to your role. Partha, we'll start with you.
Thanks, TP. Hi, everyone. I'm Partha. I'm the Director of Business Applications at Nintex. And I've been with the company for about 11 years now. And I started off in a business analyst role and really started to implement all of the SaaS applications as we went through the growth journey within the company. So as a result, it felt only natural for me to eventually be able to take charge of these applications as well. And from a SaaS management point of view, working with our finance team to make sure we've got the right stack at the right time for the right price, that's a key focus for me in my role.
Perfect. Thank you, Partha. Let's go to you, Steve.
So I am our Chief Security Officer here at Clari. I have security and privacy, but also importantly, the IT organizations, including biz apps that roll into my organization. So we were looking at it across the whole procurement stack about not only how do we bring apps in, how are we enabling our users, how is this connected to the, getting users the data they need, when they need it, wherever they need it, but also looking at this privacy and security implications of the data tech stack that we've got.
Gotcha. And Tassilo.
I'm the CFO at Curology. I also moonlight as our CTO from time to time. And I came out of an organization I was working for Anheuser-Busch InBev for a very long time that's very cost conscious. And so for me, management of SaaS was kind of like a clear priority, just because we wanted to do more with less, basically.
Yeah. What a great segue. Thank you guys, all three of you. First of all, thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know your time is valuable and certainly Zylo appreciates it. And so do the millions of SaaSMe attendees that are live online here. And what they're all waiting on the edge of their seat to hear is what triggered it? What really triggered the whole move towards SaaS management, even before Zylo potentially? But what was it? I'll start with you, Steve. What really made it happen?
So for us, is we're trying to get a handle on our redundancy. We're a SaaS first company. The only thing we have that runs on-prem is our Zoom room equipment and the routers and switches for our offices. Everything else is beyond core. Knowing that we have that beyond core model, and this is even prior to the pandemic. Looking at the redundancy as we've grown up as a company over the last 10 years, how have we bought applications, and then we had a fantastic head of procurement join us, and being able to collaborate with her and get a handle on things, start looking at redundancy. So it was that we need to get better, even prior to the downturn in the economy, get better on our spend, but also like, how do we know which tools to get out to our users? We had 11 project management tools. How are our people collaborating inside their own company from one team to the other? It's like, great, product has Asana that they're using. Finance has smart sheets. So you've got to collaborate, like which tool are they using? How are we doing the redundancies? So it was a maturity aspect as a company and not even directly related to the finance, but of course, as the economy tightened up, being able to drive that and make that a secondary process. As a 2-time Zylo customer for me, as we were looking at ways to get a handle on this, and the finance team come to me with spreadsheets going, hey, will you fill this out? It's like, oh God, no, never going to do that. That's just, I'm too lazy to want to do that work. I want to automate things. Automation is not because I'm technically savvy. Automation is done because I'm lazy and I want my team not to have to do work that they could have automated or could have written scripts for or bought software for. And so having the software in place, Zylo giving us a lot of data that I can then feed out to other individuals, and driving that process in the company and getting away from the spreadsheet management and getting finance to see the value of it was that big push for us of, let's stop doing manual. You want to get a hold of things instead of a point in time solution. Let's look at it in real time as it goes through. So that was our just being more mature as a company.
Perfect. Spreadsheets not getting it done and people wanting more up-to-date information. I'm sure there's a lot more than that we'll get into. Tassilo, how about you? I know that you've come into it. I think Curology was already using Zylo when you got there. So it might just be a little bit of a restart almost, if you will, when you came in, changeover in management. What was it for you that you saw in Zylo, or maybe even comment on how you've kind of pushed it forward?
I think we didn't use it really to the extent that we should have used it at the beginning. And I think we changed a lot since then. So the things that there are many more, but the things that really helped is obviously, for example, user management. So the point is like, for a lot of these applications, you have like hundreds of people provisioned that when you then look into it, there's like 30 people who use it in the last 3 months. And then sometimes you're like too polite. You're like, okay, well, let's send these other 180 people an email and ask them if they're using it. Or maybe let's just turn them off if they haven't been there for like 3 or 4 months. And Zylo gives us that visibility. There was a lot about redundancy. So even small companies, you buy a lot of the same product, like project management softwares. I think we had like 6, which again, it's not a lot of. Everybody's like, well, but it's like $15,000, it's like $20,000. Yeah, but you do that 5 times, and it's like $100K that you could basically take out and basically have somebody consolidate it. And then obviously pricing is something where you guys were also super helpful in terms of like helping us get all that untangled. So when I came, it really looked like a who is who of Silicon Valley SaaS companies that we were subscribed to. And I thought it was kind of like, maybe it's like, that's like how it works. Like everybody supports everybody, but it's luckily not how it works. And I think you guys helped us a lot, kind of like reduce that.
Yeah, exactly. That whole accomplishing more with less. And that's why software was invented. So of course, SaaS is going to continue to proliferate. Everybody can do more with less. And so that makes sense. And then of course, Zylo can come in and help. So Partha, what was it for you? What at Nintex kind of just triggered this? Because I think you might have come through and, if I have this straight, you might have come through and assessed Zylo once, and then it didn't quite make it over the hump. Then we came back again and it did. What was the triggering moment the first time before you actually went through the buying process?
The first time, really, as I mentioned earlier, I've sort of grown with the company and with the SaaS product to an extent. And as a result, when even before the pandemic and so forth, we wanted to get into a cost optimization mode, try to reduce waste and things like that. That's when me and my team, we started to analyze manually all the apps that we have in place and how many users are licensed, how many are being used actually. And it was all a manual effort. And the key tipping point for us was that I know project management software is getting a real bashing today. That's why none of them are sponsoring SaaS probably. But in our case, it was Box, a collaboration platform I think you guys are all aware of. And really, they kept calling me. Multiple account managers from Box kept calling me and kept saying that we have like over 1,000 users being used. And at that time, our company was about 500 people. So again, how are they getting their numbers? I have no idea. And I have to rely on their spreadsheets for figuring out who's using Box within the company and who's not. And it feels bad to know that that data is not available to you as the director of business applications, but you're having to rely on a vendor to provide that. So that was the first time I started researching tool sets that could help me do this. And around that time, we got first introduced to Zylo, which was, I believe, through a sales rep at Nintex who was working with somebody at Zylo at that time.
Gotcha. Very good. And the second time, I think it was actually a project management tool that kind of had a similar situation for the surprise renewal, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
But if I may go off script just a little bit here, because
please, that's my forte.
Because this morning, in the keynote presentation about the business partnership between finance and IT, I did want to call that out that, in our second attempt, when we wanted to get Zylo going, that is when our new CFO, Eric, had joined the company as well. And, me and him instantly clicked around the problem that we have, the way we can solve it and so forth. And that helped remove a lot of the barriers we had with Zylo the first time around within our company to get something going. So I just like to highlight how much I appreciated the keynote and how it resonated with our decision to get to Zylo.
Yeah, thank you for saying so, Partha. That's another good segue. So now we've kind of gone through the triggering event, if you will, or at least kind of the main problem that accelerated the need or the recognition of the problem. But then you got to go get some internal support. You've got to go through a process of getting a signature. You got to get budget. So let's talk about that for a second. What's that process look like? Steve, you first did this at Workfront, which was your previous engagement. Then you went to Clari and you brought us in there. So you would think it was just a piece of cake to get this done at Clari. So internally for you. So how does that, you already had experience at Workfront, maybe even talk about both and how they compared.
Yeah, I totally did my Samantha Genie nose wiggle and it just magically showed up in my environment. Hopefully there's enough of you old enough to get that reference. But yeah, no matter what, ultimately as you're buying software to manage software, like, wait a minute, we're going to go buy software to manage our software. It's like, yeah, it's being able to show that value proposition. Luckily, as doing this the second time around, I was able to have anecdotal information from what I was getting or what I had when I was at Workfront. In this case, also, it was the POC. Like, ultimately, folks, if you're going down this path, work with your sales team, get a POC done. Like, we chose 3 applications that we wanted to look at usage data on. We had, and again, Zylo is fantastic at doing targeted POCs. We did a targeted, we set the parameters of the POC, and then I was able to use that data, put it in front of folks and go, this is just the glimpse. And even that glimpse into the environment where they started seeing all of the data and all of the applications that are in there, like, wait a minute. I'm like, how many project management software do we have? How many productivity suites are we using? Like, why are we spending so much money on Office 365 as a G Suite shop? And it just starting to get those insights, and not the whole goal was, again, putting in, and we'll get to more of this later on, but putting this in front of the executive leadership team on their areas and things that they're spending. And as we're talking about, hey, we need to find ways to get budget here, putting it in front of the finance team and say, as you're working with your organizations, when they say they need more money for something, here's data that you can use for them in order to say, hey, well, let's scale back on these applications because we can find you money. Because a lot of times people want finance, and Tassilo, I know you get this your org gets this all the time. It's like, hey, I just need this new tool. Like, just find us some funds. Like, where do you think it comes from? Like, it's not a magical pool. And so it's just that aspect of, like, I can find you stuff, but that means you need to give it up. And so it's being able to show them where we could have some good trade-offs. So, like, yeah, I can go reduce this stack. Here's just off the top of my head, based on over provisioning of licenses, based on redundant applications. This is just a first blush of where I think we can reduce spend, a few $100,000 off the top of my head. And that was what really clicked, being able to have that data. Like, I'll let you do your tagline on this one, DP, but like having the data in front of them, and just instead of just anecdotal information, but putting data in front of people to drive that point home.
We're working on the data greater than opinion swag as we speak, Steve. That's it.
Looking for it. I seriously can't wait to show up at board meeting one time with the Zylo t-shirt saying that.
Yeah, well, keep running out to the mailbox. We'll get it to you. Tassilo, what about you? I mean, you're the decision maker. How do you see that occurring? And maybe it's for even a new application. What do you look for when people come to present or propose to you some kind of a purchase? And then kind of equate that to Zylo, because I know you weren't necessarily in the decision-making process for this one.
Well, the first thing that I have to, just to your previous question, when I looked first at what we were spending and I saw this line for Zylo and I didn't know what it was, I was also like, do we really need that? Can we not do that ourselves? I mean, come on, it's just like signing a contract. Well, we decided to keep you guys for the time being, if it doesn't get too expensive. But no, because it's also a skill set that we don't have. So the point is, like, it's as stupid as it sounds, but for example, pricing is just not a skill set that we have. Redundancies is not a skill set that we have. We might be able to do user management, but we're a very small company. There's a lot of things that we actually don't have that you guys really help us to do. So we decided to keep you for a moment. But basically, what we look for is basically kind of like call it a mini business case for these applications if you get them, because the point is like, I mean, they all need to fulfill something and bring something to the company that's worthwhile. And there are some of them, there are very few of them that are kind of like really nice to have. So I'm not going to mention any names, but some of them you will say, okay, they really make our users' life so much easier, and it's a couple of $100. So why not keep that? But all the other ones really need to fulfill a need of what we have. The point is like, do they bring us savings? Do they bring us new customers? Do they simplify a process that we have? Would we hire 3 people instead of having that software? So it changed a lot from like, hey, we need to have everything, to what are the things that we really need that kind of like help us drive our business. Because the point is like, every dollar that I don't spend on SaaS, I can put behind our brands, I can put behind acquiring customers, which is in effect obviously more important than to spend it on a piece of software.
Makes sense. Yeah, must have a purpose for sure. Partha, how about you? I know Eric was involved, but I think Eric also had to go forward. How did you two put the business case together, or what did you have to do to gain even more support and get approval finally?
I think to echo Steve, it was the POC that really sealed the deal for us. And again, the POC was so helpful in us understanding the type of data that would be available to us to help make informed decisions when it comes to, I guess, renewal time and things like that. And it was lucky for us because we were renewing Slack around the same time that we were having the POC with Zylo as well. So as long as we were able to get that POC going, I sneakily was able to get some usage information about Slack outside of Zylo and be able to work with Eric to really go back and forth in that negotiation with Slack as well. So, it was a fortuitous moment, but again, can't echo the importance of that POC enough. And basically, in addition to that, the collaboration from the pre-sales team around how you guys showed up to the table and helped make that business case viable for us, and with Eric being along in the journey all the way, I think that also really helped.
All right, gotcha. Okay, so we've talked about the trigger. We talked about how we gained some support. Let's move into a little bit of. So now you have been through implementation. We're going back in time a little bit. Been through implementation. So how did you introduce the topic, so to speak? How did you start to even play a role a little bit in change management, as now you have this visibility? How did that actually occur at each company? I'll kind of just open it up because we're going a little bit off script here. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, we've got all this info. How do we actually leverage it across the org? I know all of you mentioned redundancy, but at first, how did you really introduce the concept? Or was it specific? Did you actually use the data to create momentum with the value that it can provide? So whoever would like to go first, or I can help.
I think in my case, I can go first. Sorry to interrupt. But primarily, again, a lot of SaaS sprawl already and renewal times for, I think when we implemented Zylo, we were renewing the contract for outreach. And that's when I personally reached out to our VP of Sales Ops and mentioned that, this is what we're implementing. We have this type of benchmark data available. If you send me the contract of the outreach contract from last time around, I can see what we can find out from Zylo and so forth. So this was even before we did a concerted launch for the company, entire company. And then I was able to straight away find out that their quoted pricing was higher than what the Zylo benchmark was telling me. So I was able to put that information in front of Charlie, who's our VP of Sales Ops, and he went and I think he secured about a 25 grand reduced price from the original quote straight away. And that's the story I've been using in our overall communication out to the business as we launch the application catalog, as we launch the services that my team is starting to provide with contract management and renewal discussions and so forth. That leading by example, this is the type of savings we can get just by utilizing this application and the process.
Gotcha. Curiosity question, Partha. Is there what's the format or the channel that you use? So you say you're communicating across the org. Is it a set meeting? Is it an email list? Like how are you doing that?
So the way we did that, of course, getting primary approval from our executive leadership team that this is coming so that they can advise their orgs a bit earlier. And beyond that, it was using the power of the CFO, Eric in this case, coming up with some mandatory next steps that, always review the app catalog first, always engage the IT team beforehand with purchasing and so forth. We've introduced certain workflow processes of our own using our product, little call out for Nintex there in case anybody is interested, to help formalize the approvals process so that we can get in front of the shadow IT piece a little bit. But I guess to answer your original question, it was a combination of senior leadership support and communication to the entire company.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, Steve, how about you?
Yeah, so I actually use one of our own taglines to kind of kick off the process on the finance side, because Clari is a revenue platform. One of the things to talk about is you can't run forecasting and revenue off of a spreadsheet. And so again, finance, great, willing to work with you, but we can't run SaaS off of a spreadsheet. The other piece is we're so early on in the implementation journey here at Clari, but getting in front of the rest of the executive team and remembering that each one of us are business leaders. Our job is to help drive the company forward. So sitting down in front of them and saying, this is what I'm planning on providing you. So as you're looking for ways to save money, I'm going to get you a list of spend that you have for all of your tech stack inside of your environment. So you're looking for your own redundancy. You're looking for, hey, your own ops team that you have an organization, here's where they're spending all their time administrating, and these marketing, just on the marketing side, not even on the biz dev side, you got 33 applications for a team of 4. Is this enough? Or are they actually managing all of these applications? Here's the usage data, and starting to give that sprinkle of information out there. So again, I'm gonna tie this back to one of the questions that pop up in the Q&A channel. I'm gonna jump in a little bit earlier as I've been looking at it to David's question.
Do it.
Talking to them about, hey, I'm not gonna have this isn't automating this process and giving you better visibility into where you can reduce some of your overhead. Well, also, it's not about getting rid of the manpower. It's not about reducing headcount, but it's I can go save time for give your people hours back to go do other work that's more important than managing an application. Application administration is a heavy oversight that most people just don't have cycles for. And as you diversify IT function into different ops teams, here's a way to show them how they can get hours back. Here's a way we can help reduce some of that tech stack and overhead that they've got to go do things more important to their role in marketing, to actually market your application, go find ways to get more customers, drive revenue in the business. And again, focusing on the wins for them and what I can do for them by doing this work, and not about, well, I don't have to manage the onboarding and offboarding of applications anymore. My IT team, it's they don't really care what the impact is to my IT organization or my security organization. So again, focusing on what's there, because change management, even though this isn't one of those little pieces of it, change management is going to make or break any type of initiative that you have in place. So remembering that, focusing on what's important for those organizations and their wins, and having that dialogue in a manner that fits what they need.
God, great. Thanks, Steve. Tassilo?
In principle, we look at it basically, there is working dollars and non-working dollars. Working dollars is everything that basically helps us bring more customers, better service to the customers. Non-working dollars is everything that's kind of a nice to have. And people started to kind of like that idea, because obviously people are motivated by growing revenues rather than, in this case, a growing SaaS stack. So we really kind of went very deep with this idea that, hey, every dollar that we are spending in an ideal way goes towards something that generates revenue at a certain point, or is really, really needed to maintain part of what we're doing. And then it's basically really, you have to own it. So the point is I spent beginning of the year, I went with everybody through their budget. I looked at their budgets. I marked stuff that I had no clue, never heard of, and other things, and basically said, hey, what is that for? And once you start talking with everybody, well, you say oh, wow, actually, you know what? These guys have actually the same thing that you have, but you guys actually never talk. Maybe you should just use one. So you also really need to kind of get your hands dirty and jump into it, and then start basically people getting into that process of thinking, okay, I'm actually not too good into kind of saving $5,000 here, but actually that's really everybody's job inside here. And it's not only about the dollars, it's also simplification, because all of that trickles down. The point is like, your IT organization needs to maintain hundreds of different platforms. When they onboard somebody, the questionnaire is like eternal, basically, onto what do you need, and then people have like all these things. There's a lot of complexity created throughout that. So get into it, basically get your hands dirty, and just kind of like start asking questions, start looking for things that kind of like obviously don't look right, and treat it like in your same like in your own home. You also don't have 25 cars in front of your driveway. You might if you really like cars, but you probably don't.
No, that's very good. So this is interesting. So Tassilo, you're coming at this as you would expect from a financial point of view, index that way at least. And then certainly Partha and Steve, there's more of a indexing toward IT, but I hear a lot of cost savings. So if you think about it, you know, what Zylo offers and SaaS management in general is a little bit IT-focused license management. And then the other half is procurement or finance-focused renewal management. And then one of the questions that I hear from just people who are assessing the market is, you know, what aspects, when you assess SaaS management offerings, what aspects are absolutely non-negotiable? So there's kind of this indexing toward an IT use. There's an indexing toward the renewal or financial use. But you know, how did you guys go about it? What keys did you land on when you're making a decision to go with Zylo? Away from
add in one more use. I'm going to add in one more use because we've got third-party risk management. We've got
definitely
fantastic individual running our third-party risk management program, building that out, collaborating with our procurement team, because ultimately we've got privacy regulation we're trying to maintain. We need to understand where our data is flowing, what tools that may potentially have data in it. So this is another one of those data insight points. So as you're looking for all the different teams that could be in this, we've got procurement, we've got finance, we've got security, we've got privacy, and we've got IT, who all use data out of Zylo. And so this is just one other data point, and then I'll go back to your question. And sorry.
Oh, good. This is excellent.
Remember from my ramblings.
And can I just add something? I think the point is like the fact that we talk a lot about cost savings is, I think, also a question of time. You would have done probably the same panel 2.5 or 3 years ago. Probably people would have talked less about cost. It's also kind of like, because it's just, I think, very important for the moment. But to your question, I think you need to have it all. The point is like, I'm not going to have like 2 or 3 people do it. So the point is like, what we like with Zylo, what I learned basically with you guys over time, is that you actually can play a couple of different roles, and they complement very good what we have in the company. And we don't have, for example, a procurement person in the company. We don't have a person that manages licenses in the company. That's all with you guys. So you really kind of like fill in a gap of something that we just don't have in the company as a capability.
Definitely makes sense. Steve, do you guys have procurement? Have you formalized procurement yet?
Yep. In fact, I saw on a channel she's on watching today. So good thing I gave her kudos earlier as I popped back over the general channel so I don't get yelled at later on.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, you should renegotiate your rates, Steve.
No, she is. Yeah, she has saved our bacon on more things than I can count at this point. But it's great having that mindset and her being able to get data out of Zylo where we've got usage data, so we can then accurately size renewals, and then also just the benchmarking data that you guys have around discounting in there is one of those things you can go look at and go, hey, we're way under discounting for what we've got for where we should be from other customers this size.
Gotcha. Good. So, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but we may have time for a question or two, depending on how long they take. But when you guys are thinking about what you just said, Tassilo, kind of brought this to mind is, today's economic headwinds, everybody's, hey, we need to take money out of OpEx. We need to, control our margins and improve them to the extent we can. So find savings. But, when you stop to think about it, how are you driving urgency for the platform like Zylo? How are you driving urgency around action? And, redundancy is one area. Procurement kind of has their own schedule because they have a renewal calendar. But how do you drive urgency to make action when you're looking at the data inside Zylo? Partha, anything to add there?
I think when we saw the data coming out of Zylo during the POC stage, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, data is greater than opinions. Being able to see that dollar figure number and the number of apps we have, how many project management apps we had, for example, that was eye-opening to the extent that drove the urgency quite a lot with our new incoming investment partner, TPG, and CFO, Eric, when he joined as well. So again, the visibility of the data, that was the key for me.
Okay, good. So last question, and all three of you guys take a stab at this, which is, what advice would you give? So that, remember the title is this, why now? Why SaaS management has become a priority. So my assumption is that much of the audience is looking for, hey, what should I dive in? What advice would you give them related to making a choice and or implementing and getting going on the choice, either or both? Start with you, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't wait. If, run your POC. I cannot stress enough that having that glimpse of data, again, data is greater in your opinion. Having that glimpse of data and actually putting something concrete in front of folks. It doesn't matter the size of your team. Like even if you're a person of one and you're trying to find time to get back, this is going to help you find time. Because one, you should be able to hopefully onboard less applications, manage less applications. You can find ways and you can show yourself as a business leader. So this is also a potential opportunity for you to grow in your role and grow in the company, and showing how you're improving and showing your business acumen. So give yourself those opportunities for growth by actually getting something in there, but go start now. Don't wait. You can say that, hey, we're only a company of 50. I can guarantee you as a company of 50, you probably already have a couple hundred SaaS applications that you're running, or maybe even only 100 SaaS applications, but you're probably also way overspending on things. You got to pretend the earlier you can solve a problem, the easier it is to solve in the long run.
It's very, very good. Partha, you go, and then we'll finish off. Tassilo, give the last word.
I think I'd echo everything Steve mentioned. And I just wanted to throw in that we had about 8 project management software applications. So I'm between Tassilo and Steve in the list there. But again, POC, being able to show the data upfront. I mean, that showing the data was what approved the business case for Zylo for us straight away. So I just echo that.
Yep, very good. Tassilo, bring us home.
And leadership, I think, so that to your point, if I get on a call with the team and ask them about whatever software they're using or something else, people get naturally pretty urgent because they feel like, okay, that seems to be something that's important. So get your senior leaders involved. And it doesn't mean they need to understand how to onboard a person, how to write code or whatever. Just ask a couple of questions, spend a little bit of time on it, and it will show that it's actually, there's no problem that's actually beneath us to be solved. These are all kind of like our communal problems.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you all very, very much again. I just want to echo what I said at the onset. I know your time is valuable, so very, very much appreciate all your time. Swag's in the mail. And with that, we will call it a day. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, everybody.